Have you ever wondered, what are all the subgenres of drum and bass? How do you distinguish from liquid to jump up to rollers and dance floor? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the most popular subgenres of drum and bass so you can navigate through this complex yet fascinating genre. I'm going to be going through the unique characteristics of each subgenre, showing you track examples and sounds that are used. And if you want to support this channel, check out deviantaudio.com. We have a number of sample packs, preset packs, and Ableton kits to help you along your music production journey. And we just released the Deviant Audio Production Suite, which contains all 12 of our recently released packs, all at 50% off the full price. You can learn more down in the links below. All right, let's dive in. Alright, the first one is liquid drum and bass. This subgenre of drum and bass is often characterized by soulful vocals as well as lush pads and chords. Oftentimes, these chords sound jazzy or bluesy or even housey. The drums are usually rolling, groovy, and catchy. In the early 2000s, we called the style liquid funk. It was usually characterized by rolling and thick breakbeats as well as housey vocals and pads. As the years progressed, the drums became more defined, production became tighter and more refined, then we have what we call liquid drum and bass. Emotions that we typically associate with liquid drum and bass are uplifting, positive, and feel good. Although in recent times we have some more melodramatic and deep liquid tracks. Also in liquid drum and bass, we have more dialed back rolling bass lines as opposed to the more loud and abrasive bass lines that you hear in other forms of drum and bass. So here's a classic liquid drum and bass track from the early 2000s by Logistics. It's called Together. And notice the catchy breakbeats and the rolling bass lines along with the soulful pads. And here's a more recent track by Paul and Bryson. It's called Tell You What I Did. Again, listen to how the breaks are a bit more tighter, more refined, and also notice the soulful vocals and chords.
So shook, I had to catch my breath. Ooh, said toss my shirt up over my head. Oh my. Ooh, said toss my skirt dropping in my feet. Oh my.
Here's a classic by Marcus Intellect and 𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗪𝗪. It's called Universe on Metalheads. I love this one. This one goes deep. Here's one more. This is a favorite of mine by Lensman. It's called Open Page featuring the vocalist Ria. The next subgenre is Neuro drum and bass, and I kind of get the sense that we call this Neuro drum and bass because of its precision programming, very cerebral in the way that the sounds are designed. Neuro drum and bass is often characterized by hard kick and snares that are precision tuned and they slap. The bass lines are gritty, angry, and often distorted, and emotions are dark, angry, and mean. Here's an example by Pythias and Black Sun Empire. The track is called Doctrine. Notice how the drums hit hard, the bass lines are gritty and distorted, and then some dark and sinister synths. Here's another example by Black Sun Empire and State of Mind. The track is called Until the World Ends. Love those angry Reese bass lines. All those bass sounds seem to pulverize you, and it sounds like you're being smacked by the music. Here's one by Aggressor Bunks, one of my favorite Neuro producers. They have a track called Chronicle, and this one the bass is kind of dialed back. It's a bit more groovy, but I would still classify it under the Neuro umbrella.
Go snap bastards.
Love the rolling bass line on this track. Alright, here's an oldie. This one's by 𝗙𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 and Optical, who I think did a lot of the groundwork which led to the current form of Neuro drum and bass. Check out this track, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗪𝗪. But if you want to go even further back, you can check out the track Pac-Man. Now, I wouldn't classify this track specifically as Neuro, but a lot of these tracks provided the framework and groundwork for Neuro to be birthed. And of course, 𝗙𝗧𝗨𝗙𝗙 has made great contributions to further this genre. One of their biggest tracks recently is Dead Limit. Notice the overarching emotions in all the tracks I played you. It's usually pretty gritty, mean, and there's an attitude. The tracks slap. Alright, the next genre I want to talk about is jungle. Jungle is often seen as the predecessor to what became drum and bass. Jungle is often characterized by chopped up break beats, oftentimes aim breaks or think breaks, other classic break beats. Oftentimes we have 808 sub basses, as well as rolling greasy bass lines, as well as dubby sine wave bass lines. Sometimes jungle is characterized by dancehall and reggae vocals, and even classic R&B vocals. It may be accompanied by lush, soulful, and deep pads. The emotions are raw, heavy, and it's about beating you down with the drums and bass. Here's a classic by 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗙𝗢𝗪𝗙. Notice the heavy amen breaks and how those amens are tweaked, chopped up, and filtered. And the 808 sub basses and bass lines are deep and heavy. Here's a classic that I love playing. It's by 𝗙𝗪𝗟𝗪. It's called Fade to Black. Notice again the amen breaks and the 808s. And what I mean by 808s is that thumping sub bass. Here's a more recent jungle track by 𝗙𝗢𝗙𝗪𝗏. This one uses the copter break instead of the amen break, but the approach is the same. It's about chopping up the breaks and intricate drum programming. Here's another recent jungle track by Sully and Tim Reaper. Notice the interesting amen break, how they're using flanging to create a melody. Sometimes that is done, especially the older tracks. I remember Photech used to do that as Studio Pressure. Fun stuff. Here's another one by Sully. It's called Flock. I love how he does the snare rolls in this. This is another characteristic of jungle breakbeat programming. Listen closely. Love those amen snare rolls. Alright, the next genre has been very popular. It's called dance floor drum and bass. Oftentimes there's catchy female vocals accompanied by techno and trancey lead synths. And more recently, a lot of dance floor tracks have been using a repeating offbeat quarter note donk bass in between the beats. There's usually a big kick and snare as well as big build-ups. The emotions we feel with dance floor drum and bass is usually upbeat, euphoric, and driving. Makes you want to dance. Here's a track by Dimension. It's called Techno. Notice that techno synth and repeating bass line underneath and those big kick and snares. Here's a dance floor classic by Self Focus, Solar System. Notice the big lead sounds and once again that repeating quarter or eighth note bass line. Here's one by Culture Shock and Self Focus called Recombine. Listen again to that eighth note bass line.
We gotta recombine.
The beats are often chunky and very infectious. Alright, on to minimal drum and bass. The subgenre of drum and bass aspires to refine the production techniques of tight drum programming and precision-tuned bass lines. The bass lines are often dialed back and low pass, and maybe hints of the distorted gritty bass lines here and there. Oftentimes, there's moody or dark synths and stabs, and the drum programming is intricate. The emotions I often associate with minimal drum and bass is the feeling of being zoned in, meditative, and focused. Here's a track called Push Up by 𝗙𝗥𝗘𝗘. Notice how tight the kicks and snares are and the little percussions in between. The bass line is dialed back. It's not in your face. It's very groovy and catchy and fun to dance to. Here's a tune by Particle and Envy called Needles. Once again, notice the minimal kick and snare and the dialed back but groovy bass line sounds. Here's one by Clinical. It's called Around Me. I love the sound of the precise production of minimal drum and bass. Alright, the next is jump up drum and bass. This style of drum and bass often has big and wonky bass lines. Usually the kick and snare are pretty big and they slap. It's usually in a two-step pattern. The patterns and melodies are pretty simple but effective. The emotions for jump up is excited, happy, silly, and fun. Here's a recent big tune by Chase and Status and 𝗙𝗥𝗘𝗘 featuring the MC Artie. It's called Liquor and Cigarettes.
Switch. Wait. Nope.
Notice how the kick and snare slaps and that wonky fun bass line that drives the track. And oftentimes recent jump up drum and bass is accompanied by UK rap vocals. Speaking of jump up, here's my new track M for M, which has been getting a lot of good response. Let's get it on all the streaming platforms by using Clubhouse, their music promotion and distribution platform. It is free for the month of July. You keep 100% of the royalties, get paid monthly, easily split your earnings with your collaborators, and put your music up for licensing with other brands and creators so you can earn more. All you have to do is sign up to Clubhouse, upload your music in July, and let Clubhouse do the rest. All for free. To learn more about Clubhouse, check the link in the description. Here's a classic jump up drum and bass track by DJ Hazard, Bricks Don't Roll. Once again, notice that silly, fun, wonky bass line. Older jump up drum and bass had more rolling break beats and drums. Here's another classic by Taxman. It's called Too Bad. Notice once again the older jump up tracks had rolling breakbeats, oftentimes a rolling amen behind the big kick and snare. Again, wonky bass lines. Here's a recent jump up track by 𝗙𝗢𝗘 and Amplify. It's called Lights in the Air. Notice the simple bass pattern, yet it's effective because each bass hit really slaps and they're loud and in your face. I like this jump up track by 𝗙𝗥𝗘𝗘. It's called Bring It Down. This one, the bass sounds are a bit more dialed back. It's a bit more groovy, but I still would classify it under the new sound of jump up drum and bass.
Bring it down.
And actually that bass preset is an ode to classic jump up drum and bass. Here's one more. It's by 𝗙𝗢𝗘𝗘. It's called Shutdown.
Armageddon is the shutdown. It's the shutdown.
Notice once again that rudimentary mid bass pattern, that da-da-da-da-da, very basic, but it does the job and it's effective. This next one, it has been a hit. It's Mosey and Rusko, Hands in the Air VIP. This is kind of hybrid between jump up and rollers, which we're gonna get into next, but check it out. I love the groovy drums and that bass line in this track. Alright, finally, the last genre we're going to talk about today is rollers. Some may argue if this is actually a subgenre of drum and bass, but I'd like to think so. I see it as kind of the cousin to jump up, where jump up is loud and in your face. Rollers is a bit more dialed back, allowing more balance between the drums and the grooves of the bass line. The drums and rollers is a bit more groovy, hence the word rollers. The drums tend to roll. Oftentimes, there's a breakbeat underneath to help that roll. It's usually programmed in that classic two-step drum and bass pattern, like most of the subgenres we talked about today. And the bass lines are less abrasive, as I mentioned before. It's dialed back to allow more groove in the track. Here's a classic track from nearly 30 years ago. DJ Die, Clear Skies, who's done a lot of groundwork for rollers, drum and bass. Notice that rolling, repetitive breakbeat and that dialed back bass line. Here's another classic by DJ Die. It's called Drop Bear. I love that dialed back bass line on this track, as well as those rolling breaks. Here's another one called Jitterbug by DJ Die, just to show how influential he is to this sound. Alright, onto some more modern rollers drum and bass. Notice the more precise drum programming in this track. This one's by Boo, All You Gotta Do.
All you got to do is move. All you got to do is move. All you got to do is move.
I love the tight drums in the new rollers drum and bass, and also those almost wonky but dialed back bass lines. As you can see, it's a bit more groovy and dialed back, less in your face. Here's a modern classic by Gray called Rub-a-Dub. Once again, notice that there's a rolling, repetitive breakbeat. Oftentimes, the kick and snares are a bit tighter as opposed to jump up, where they're bigger. The bass lines are more dialed back. Here's another one by Spy. It's called Steady Jam. And Spy has been one to dominate the rollers genre for some time. Check this one out. Here's another recent rollers track by Serum. It's called Lumberjack. Notice the bass line here is more melodic and it's very catchy. Alright, here's another classic from over 20 years ago. It's True Romance by 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗡. This one I classify as more of a deep and dark roller. I think it was worth mentioning this track in this section anyways. Alright, so those were 7 of the most popular subgenres of drum and bass music. Which genres did I miss? Don't worry, we'll be going through part 2 where I go through other subgenres of drum and bass including dark rollers, roughage, drum funk, bushman, dubwise, tech step, Belgian jump up, and much more. I thought this would be a good primer for anyone getting into drum and bass music and want to know how to distinguish the many forms of this style. And as you may have noticed, the genres are loosely defined. This is all about music and vibe anyways. There really should be no hard rules when creating music. Producers can choose whatever sounds and patterns they want to add to a track and pull influences and inspiration from every and anywhere. So don't be dictated by the genres. Simply use them as guidelines when you make music. Alright, I hope this helped. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. And also check out deviantaudio.com with the links below where you can access samples, presets, and Ableton kits to help you along your production journey. If you want to learn how to arrange drum and bass, check this video up here. If you want to learn how to create drum and bass sounds, check this playlist up here. Alright, thanks for watching. Until then, see you at the next video. Peace.